Tom, run us out here with this new video that the public seems to have just gotten eyeballs on of a UAP getting droned.
Yeah, so there was a hearing on a House hearing to do with UAPs or UFOs this week. And, one of the videos that came out, I think there wasn't particularly a lot new there. There's, unsubstantiated witness reports. There was a journalist, George Knapp, on there who has done some great work, but also, frankly, I think the evidence would suggest some not great work and become more of an entertainer, right? Which is very easy in this subject to make a lot of money very quickly, get a Netflix show as he did by being slightly more superfluous with your analytical tradecraft. Anyway, the new video that got put up, I believe by Representative Burleson, shows what appears to be an orb-type UAP or a spherical object being hit by a Hellfire missile. It said like a US missile as it flies over the waters off Yemen.
And whose video is this? It's
a US military video.
Do we know what branch? Do we know?
I have not said. There probably has been identified. I haven't seen. I just saw the video. Anyway, what's interesting about it seems to hit the missile hits the orb, damages it a bit, but then the debris sort of seems to move in tandem with the orb or the sphere, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of a compelling video. I think whatever it is, and that there could be, frankly, that there may well be a easy explanation for this, as there are for the 99.9% of UFOs. But I always come back to the reason why this subject deserves serious journalistic inquiry rather than derision, which is what it receives from most of the media because of stigma, is that since at least the 1940s, 0.1% of these things defy our understanding of, strongly appear to be intelligently controlled machines that defy our understanding of physics and capability, that things from the 1940s, 50s that were caught on radar and seen by pilots, similar things seen today, admittedly, smaller in some cases, are not things we've seen, in a military possession, even including some of the most classified top secret stuff. So if you had something in the 1950s, essentially, that's more advanced than what we have today, something's probably going on here, that this is something other than, a human thing, which is a big comment to say. But I think the evidence strongly points in that direction. The reason we don't hear more about it is because the waters are muddied by entertainers who like to, see clouds as alien mothercraft because it sells a TV show. That's the one side. And then the other side, again, is the stigma, in the scientific and journalistic and military community that attaches to wanting to cover it seriously because you don't want to be written off as a, whack job.
So, yeah, I'm looking at the news on this now, and just it's worth saying Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who is a part of, I think this is a hearing for their task force, right? I think there's a special task force in this Congress, and she's saying, after revealing the video, quote, "Not a single witness was aware of any U.S. military technology capable of such a feat. Every witness described the footage as extremely, quote, scary." It is a pretty insane video. Have you seen, you've followed this really closely for years before most people were paying attention
I think sometimes members of Congress can get a bit over their skis with some of this stuff. You've got to be careful because a lot of this imagery is, for example, if you hit a balloon with radar, you can sometimes get the balloon traveling at thousands of miles an hour because the radar gets confused within the air inside the balloon and the texture. And so you really need to be very careful with what's, I think video is kind of the best. But then if there's sensor data as to, as I'm sure there was in this case, how fast is it going? Where did it go? Where did it come from? Were there any variations? Did another sensor platform like a satellite or, human observer see it? More data leads to more confidence that something more strange is happening. But there are a lot of cases where that, is the situation, including mass sightings and extremely good imagery. I know for a fact that the Defense Department, the intelligence community have a lot more videos that they can't explain. And, one of the things here is, well, if we're being transparent, why don't you release those videos when, as soon as the Russians or Chinese do something stupid with one of our spy flights and fly right in front of it, the Pentagon within 24 hours normally releases a video with the right relevant redactions to show this was not our fault, right? This is what they did. It endangered the aircrew. And then they say, well, we can't release this video. There's not necessarily classified systems, but it's just because they don't know how to address that something very strange is happening.
Right.
I do think one positive, the new head of Aero, which is the DoD's, UFO related unit, has been, I think, more open-minded than his predecessor and more willing to admit there is some stuff that we really do not understand. So that's a step in the right direction. But again, it requires serious journalistic investigation and, competent witnesses and courageous witnesses, of course, and data, not Netflix shows. And unfortunately, because people have seen Netflix shows, Bob Lazar, whatever, who's almost certainly a complete fraudster, it dilutes the credibility of the broader subject. And that's a shame. And so then the people who claim to be the best advocates for truth and disclosure actually become some of the worst enemies because they are muddying the waters away from credible content.
Have you changed on Lazar? Like, were you always the skeptical?
No, I've always been skeptical, but I'm. If you type in on Google Douglas Dean Johnson, who's a sort of friend and investigative reporter, he's sort of done actually did a Twitter thread as well, just kind of documenting everything Lazar said and then the actual facts, and it's just not. It was never compelling in terms of how the US operates kind of secret programs like that, but I think it's become increasingly absurd. But people stick to him, like George Knapp, because they don't want to admit they were wrong or because they think it's a money machine. I don't know what the motive is, but it's not journalistic. It's not ethical journalism.
Tom Rogan is an editor over at the Washington Examiner, also a foreign policy writer. If you couldn't tell from this conversation, he covers foreign policy, and you should all go check out his work over at thewashingtonexaminer.com. It's been a pleasure to have you here in Undercurrents, Tom.
Thank you, Emily. I had a great time.
As a reminder, make sure to subscribe over at undercurrents.tv for the full premium experience of the show, and of course on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts as well. And we will see you back with more soon.